YouTubers have been infamous for talking about disturbing movies for the last 10 years now. You've heard of The Human Centipede, a Serbian film, Salo, all those disturbing, classics. I'm very hard to startle whilst watching a film, but I met my match the other weekend when I found a movie that truly shook me to my core. It wasn't disturbing in the traditional sense where it's just bloody shock value, people attached to other people's butts, or anything like that. This movie just provided a feeling of dread, discomfort, and confusion the entire time, with a few breaking the fourth wall jump scares that are genuinely the most terrifying things I've ever seen. I wanted to talk about this movie because as someone who has been on YouTube a long time and followed all the quote-unquote disturbing movie trends, I don't think I've ever seen this one mentioned. So the movie I'll be discussing today is David Lynch's 2006 film Inland Empire. Since finishing Twin Peaks and loving it, I wanted to take it upon myself to go through Lynch's catalog and watch some of his other stuff. Inland Empire was the first Lynch movie that popped up on HBO, so I figured why not? I'll start with this one. Little did I know, this is commonly cited as the worst David Lynch movie to watch as your first, and once you start, it's pretty obvious why. I mean, this is one of the most inaccessible pieces of media I think I've ever seen. Now, David Lynch, if you're familiar, was no stranger to weird, bizarre, and abstract things in his work, but even for him, this was just another level of strange. I'm gonna get into some spoilers now, so if you don't want to hear them, go watch the movie and come back. Just be warned because you're in for quite the ride. Now, I'll admit, I've only seen this movie once, so there will be things I skip over. I have not had time, and maybe I'm just not quite brave enough to go back and watch it yet again. But I'm here to tell you why this was so disturbing, not give you an entire breakdown of the movie. Anyway, this is a 3-hour long film about... What's this movie about? There is a main plot for about a half hour. Laura Dern, whose performance in this film is incredible, plays an actress named Nikki that lands a big role in a movie. She meets her fellow actor in the movie Devin, played by Justin Theroux, and the characters they play are having an affair. Nikki's husband is very, very jealous of this all the time, and this is highlighted throughout the first half of the film.
Now I'll tell you something, and I will mean everything I say. My wife is not a free agent. I don't allow her that. The bonds of marriage are real bonds. The vows we take, we honor and enforce them for ourselves, by ourselves, or, if necessary, they're enforced for us. Either way, she's bound.
I'm getting married to an actress, Nikki's husband. I get your jealousy, but chill out, man. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, the directors told Nikki and Devin that they're working on an unfinished movie. Why is the movie unfinished, you ask? Because the original actors were murdered during production of the film. Needless to say, they're a little freaked out by this, but they carry on anyway. After this, the movie kinda just turns into a film with Nikki and all these nightmarish scenarios that are left unexplained with seemingly no rhyme or reason. This movie was shot with a Sony PD-150, which I saw you can get for $75 nowadays. I don't know how technologically advanced the PD-150 was in 2006, but judging by the way the movie was shot, I don't know if the camera was bad or if Lynch just did his best to make it look worse on purpose. The poor camera quality is part of what made the movie so disturbing to me. It looks like something you're not supposed to be watching, like somebody found a camera with somebody's snuff film footage and released it to the public. Not only the camera quality, but the frequent zoom-ins on the characters' faces give me the creeps. You might have detected my note of sarcasm when I described what this movie is about, and that's because there's not really a plot after what I said. That makes the movie so much more disorienting and confusing, and I should also mention that I fell in and out of sleep the first time I watched it, making it doubly creepy because I felt like I was missing some crucial plot point. Like, this would be the worst movie ever to watch on drugs. When I did some research, many were saying the whole point of the movie is to feel like a giant nightmare, and when Lynch was asked what the movie was about, he simply said it's about a girl in trouble. Lynch, you hit the nail on the head. It wasn't until I did further research, though, that the girl in trouble was not in fact Nikki, but the character referred to as the Lost Girl. We see the Lost Girl at the beginning of the movie crying and watching this strange rabbit show on her TV.
What time is it?
This is a recurring scene throughout the movie with slightly different stuff happening to the rabbits each time. The rabbits don't really make much sense to me either, but I liked seeing them. They gave me some comfort between the other disturbing scenes. Yes, I know that isn't the most comforting thing, but I liked them. Also, I have no idea why there were occasional sitcom laugh tracks with these rabbits, but I know this was pulled from a 2002 David Lynch short film. Not sure if any of the clips are actually from that, but that's where he got these little rabbit guys from. Something I should add is that this movie takes place in Poland, and there is a lot of Polish folklore discussed throughout the film. First time we hear about this is when the director brings it up to Nikki and Devin right after they mention that the original two actors were murdered.
The two leads were murdered. It was based on a Polish gypsy folktale. The title in German was Vier Sieben, 4-7, and it was said to be cursed. So it turned out to be.
This strange lady, aka Laura Palmer's mom, if you know you know, also vaguely brings it up in a creepy scene where she talks about murder. This is a good time to add that the soundtrack of this movie makes it all the more uncanny with this ambient noise playing underneath all these strange conversations.
A little boy went out to play. As he passed through the doorway, he caused a reflection. Evil was born. Is there a murder in your film?
No. That's not part of the story.
No. I think you are wrong about that.
Anyway, to kind of get back on track because my commentary has become as disorganized as the movie, I think this can be broken down into 6 distinct parts. The first is the part we already discussed with Nikki and Devin recording the movie. This is about the first hour of the film until Devin is pretty much completely out of the picture, save for 1 or 2 scenes later on in the movie. The second part of the film we'll label the house/dancers part. This is when things start to get really weird for Nikki and the viewer. She ends up in this very liminal space looking house and sees visions of these other girls. They're talking about finding love, and then they do this fun dance in the middle of the house that just randomly happens and is probably one of the more uplifting parts of the movie. But then they disappear. Don't worry though, they'll be back later. Third part of the movie has Nikki, or at least a woman who looks like Nikki, talking to a therapist. I say a woman who looks like Nikki because her accent completely changes when she talks to this guy. I'm not even sure he's a real therapist because he's in this dark, creepy building, but for the purpose of this video, he'll be a therapist. Nikki talks about her former husband and how abusive he was, and the movie started to make some semblance of sense to me. I kind of just figured it was a film about escaping your abuser, but I was surprised to see other people didn't get that interpretation. Fourth part of the movie deals with the lost girl and kind of just follows her around wintry Poland, although it doesn't reveal much about her situation or past. We just know she's being held captive by this guy. Before we get to the fifth part, which we'll call the street scenes, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the fourth wall breaks I mentioned earlier. There are 3 specific instances of this, and all of them are very disturbing. So first this happens, and I'll put a timestamp if you want to skip ahead because it's a little bit spooky.
Who is she?
So that one's pretty tame compared to the other things we'll get into, but freaked me out seeing it at 1 a.m. in context of the film. Probably not so bad just seeing it here. The next one is the one that really got me. I don't turn off movies like ever, but I just could not keep going after seeing this next clip. If you're familiar with this movie, you probably know the quote-unquote face scene associated with it, and I thought that the face was about to happen right here in this clip, which made it doubly unnerving for me. We'll get into the face scene later on, but here's the current clip with the timestamp to skip ahead. If the first one scared you, I would definitely skip ahead for this one. Ugh. I literally walked away from my computer when recording that because I didn't want to see it again. Literally the most disturbing thing I think I've ever seen, except something arguably even more disturbing happens later in the film. The way she just slowly walks towards you and you're not sure whether it's Nikki or not is just so horrifying to me. And then of course it's not helped by the jump scare at the end as it zooms in on her face. Also, this scene just randomly happens. There's no lead in or build up to it. It literally just happens. And that makes it worse too. Like, the uncanny liminal space of it all is what makes it so hard to watch for me. Now, back to the fifth part, the street scenes, which starts wrapping up the movie. This is probably my favorite part of the movie. Black Tambourine by Beck starts playing as Nikki is trying to escape her killer, and everyone around her just seems pretty calm and content, but she is certain someone is trying to murder her. This is the part when I was like, okay, this is exactly like a dream. Then she says this.
Where am I? I'm afraid.
Me too, Nikki. She's eventually stabbed by a crazy woman with a screwdriver. Then she ends up with this funny lady whose partner just happens to be Terry Crews. What are you doing here, man?
She brought kisses and loves, but she has got a hole in her vagina wall. She has torn a hole into her intestine from her vagina.
Yeah, baby. How you tell us that shit?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Terry. Anyway, this bizarre scene eventually ends with Nikki lying on the ground, and then it's revealed that all the crazy stuff that happened was part of the movie? It's not necessarily explained, and we still have one more crazy event happen before the movie ends. Nikki leaves the theater, then finds this other movie theater portraying scenes of her own experience. We also see the lost girl and know that she's close by. Nikki has one more demon to face, and we have one more jump scare to get into before the movie ends. So, long story short, Nikki finds a gun in a nightstand, ends up in a hallway with this guy who I'm pretty certain is her former husband, and then this happens. Jump scare incoming, so one more time stamp to skip ahead. What even was this movie, man? Anyway, it actually ends kind of beautifully. After her face gets all distorted and uncanny, she finds the lost girl and they kiss, and Nikki disappears, presumably leaving us to believe that maybe Nikki was the lost girl all along. The lost girl reunites with who I think is her family, and the movie ends with the cast dancing to Nina Simone's Sinner Man. So that's it. It's hard for me to put into words why this movie unsettled me so much, but I did watch it at midnight all alone, and if you want the same experience, I'd recommend you do the same. I've just never watched a movie that made me feel the way this one did, and that's why I had to come out of pseudo YouTube retirement and make a video on it. It might sound like I was dogging on the movie the whole time, but I really wasn't. Like, I wouldn't have made a video on this movie if I didn't like it. I just hate how uncomfortable it made me feel. But that's a reason why I love David Lynch's other work so much. This one was just something else. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've never watched anything else by David Lynch, please watch something else of his before you watch this movie. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.